bring it to the right floor. They had to work the gadget up and back a little bit. Today, if you press 30, the elevator stops exactly on the 30th floor.
So the transportation in an entirely new city system would be like elevators stretched out throughout the city, and cars they're not individual cars, but they're transportation units that take you anywhere within that city that does not pollute. We're plundering the planet for the things we think are freedoms. But instead, we're getting lung diseases and other diseases. And certain countries are totally out of the loop and having mass starvation because of the oil situation.
Yes. Of course, I would rather answer the questions directly if people were to ask it. If I can answer questions that they ask, please don't be polite. If there's anything you feel that may not work in the Venus Project, please bring it up.
Well, Matthias and Celene may have questions to ask as well, but Leanne just asked a question. She states, as a single mother of 4 children who tends to struggle more often than not, the vision painted by the Venus Project appeals to me greatly. As a human being who is tired of war and crime and corruption perpetuated by those governing us, the Venus Project appeals to me. But there are so many out there who call the Venus Project a scam. They can't envision the future the Venus Project is striving for. What is the base level one can achieve to help change the mindset of those who simply cannot envision the Venus Project as a viable solution for a more cohesive world?
If you wish to think about the Venus Project in an honest way, picture the public library. People fought for a public library because people could not afford books. Once the public library was installed, anyone, whether they're working or not, could access any book on any subject. Next door to the public library, we have a camera center where anyone can check out a camera, just like the public library. Next door to that, we have musical instruments. And you check them out just like the public library. All things are available like the public library to everybody without a price tag. If you do that, there's no basis for crime. No one's going to hit you on the head and steal your musical instrument if they have access to it. Do you understand that?
I definitely understand that Leanne is answering right now. While we wait for her answer, there was an interesting conversation that my friend Matt, who is on with us right now, presented last night. He presented a scenario in which if someone goes into a bank to get some money and leaves, and another person goes waiting for them outside the door and hits them over the head to take that money, that's obviously based on greed or the necessity that they might have. So without money, greed may still exist, but the behavior may not become so complicated.
Yes, you stated it very well. In other words, if you have access to anything you need without the use of money, there's no need to steal. There's no need to rob people. There's no need to hurt anybody.
The system that we have now is based on keeping things scarce, to keep the prices up. They even destroy food products in order to keep prices up if there's too much food of a certain product produced. But the Venus Project talks about producing abundance as quickly as possible. When, for instance, if it rained gold, everybody would take that gold and have a greedy behavior coming out of the monetary system. They put it in their closets, they go out and sweep it in their cellars and their attics. But if it continued raining gold, or even $100 bills, after a month or two, you'd have no use for it, and you'd be sweeping it out of your attics and your drawers. So if you have an abundance of a product, if you have scarcity, that enables you to put a price tag on it and create a price for it. But the air you breathe is free, and nobody's charging you any money for the amount of breaths you take for a day. It's because we have an abundance of it. But water used to be abundant, and nobody charged you. Today, they're charging you for water because it's becoming scarce. They're trying to own it, different industries, and they're running into trouble with that. So if we can create abundance as quickly as possible by using science and technology, then the behavior of greed, it doesn't get generated within the culture. Your behavior is generated from the environment that you're raised in.
In other words, if you don't understand that, if you were raised in Australia, you'd speak with that dialect. If you were raised in the South, you speak with a Southern accent. It should be obvious to most people that if you were raised in Germany under Hitler without access to books, you would be a Nazi. If you're raised in Japan, you'd have the mannerisms of the Japanese and the language of the Japanese. We all reflect our culture, which is very unfortunate. The belief that we do not depend on our culture is a myth.
You know, you bring up some really great points, and I want to make sure that others get a chance to ask some questions. But Leanne says, absolutely. I wonder how one begins to change the mindset of those around us who shoot down every argument for the absolute viability of the Venus Project. I come across so many people who can't be called anything other than brainwashed, and convincing them to even begin to see the world containing different possibilities has proven to be difficult.
That's a major problem because, as you probably all realize, that language is subject to interpretation. When you read a book or you talk to another person, they do hear what you say, but it comes out of their mouth in relation to their background and values. It's very difficult to talk to people today. You're talking at them unless they've come to learn. When they go to a university, they have to leave their thoughts outside and listen to the presentations of the medical profession or chemistry or whatever subject you're studying. The scientific disciplines are not subject to interpretation. When engineers talk to each other, they don't say, I think I know what he means. They know exactly what he means. When you use mathematics, chemistry, physics, engineering, the language has a uniform meaning and is not subject to interpretation. This is project number one. We have to devise a language that's not subject to interpretation.
You have to remember sometimes also when you're talking to people about new ideas and you threaten their own ideas, sometimes they just come back with a one-upmanship and an ego type of response, and they're not really inquiring or asking questions. And all through history, any new ideas have always been shot down, like women's rights. They used to have rotten eggs thrown at them when women marched in the streets from other women. They fought every single new advancement in society in regards to human rights and child labor and black rights. Every new invention, just about, they always have people, even within the field, even the scientists during the days of the Wright brothers said that man can't fly. And the Wright brothers never read their books, so they just went right ahead and did it. So if you listen to those people who keep saying it's not true, it's a scam, it can't be achieved, it's a utopian dream, you'd never have any progress in any field.
You know, you mentioned conditioning, and had one been raised in different parts of the world, they would have different dialects, or if they were raised in Nazi Germany, they would have a different set of beliefs. I wanted to question that. I definitely agree with you that conditioning plays a very large role in what we think of ourselves and who we think we are. One of the beliefs I've had about myself in my lifetime is that no matter where I lived or was raised in my lifetime at any point in history, deep down I've always had a really hard time accepting the ideas of prejudice, and can't see myself having ever been raised in a time when I would have thought it would be okay to think that someone of a different sexuality or skin color or nationality was somehow wrong or in a bad way different from me. What are your thoughts on that?